Hey guys, so today I am going to update you on my 1-month postpartum pregnancy, birth, delivery, recovery and sort of explain to you how it's been recovering from the C-section, give you some more details that I kind of forgot to mention in the whole birth story, and some extra things because that was a really long video, and this I have a feeling will be as well. I'm going to give you some updates on Olivia and stuff like that and how this first month has just been overall. So before I get into all of the nitty-gritty of the recovery and all that, if you want to see the whole birth story, I might mention some things here and there in this video as well, but if you want to know like the ins and outs of why things happened the way that they did and why I had the C-section, all that, then you can go and check out that video. I will link it below. I did end up having sort of an emergency C-section after pushing for 5-6-ish hours. She never really quite made it into the birth canal. They could see her hair when they looked up in there. They could see, you know, her head at the point where it was supposed to be. But essentially she was 9 pounds, 11 ounces. She was overdue. I think she was more overdue than they thought. My original due date was January 8th. And then after my first ultrasound, they changed it to January 18th. And looking back, you know, at some of my later doctor's appointments where they said, you know, wow, you're measuring a lot larger, you know, than at this point. You know, they would always say that I was measuring a bit larger. I think that my real due date was probably more close to that original January 8th due date. I ended up having her on January 22nd. I was induced. My blood pressure got a little high at the end for that reason. And then that combined with everything else, they did say that she had dropped. My pelvis had opened. Like everything was the way that it should. They didn't induce me too early in the fact that, you know, it wasn't a situation where I pushed and my pelvis wasn't open. Like it was, everything had progressed as it should. It was just that no matter what would have happened, her shoulders were too big to fit through my pelvis, and she would have, if they would have forced her to come out, if they would have taken a vacuum or forceps or anything weird like that and forced her out, she probably would have developed, I think they call it Erb's palsy or whatever, where they essentially, the shoulders break or they can come out or something happens to the nerves, and it's a pretty bad thing to happen. And so my whole thoughts were, I'm not going to, for the sake of saying I want to have a natural childbirth, that's what I want. You know, I'm not going to push that over having a C-section. I wanted to have a healthy baby. I cared about her, and that's what the doctors recommended, and so that's what ended up happening, and she was 100% healthy. Everything was great. So that's sort of a long story short situation type thing. Oh, and something else too that made me think that I had went that my original due date was probably closer to the 8th was, I forgot to mention this in my birth story, but when my water broke, they had said that there was meconium like in the water, like she had done her first poop, which happens when babies are usually very overdue, and that can be very, very dangerous. And they said that my water wasn't tinged as much as it would be if it had been in there for a long time or if she had done a lot. It was just, I think they said that it probably had not been in there very long. So I am so thankful that I was induced when I was. For anybody that says, oh, inductions, you know, you shouldn't do that, blah, 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 that would have been a lot more dangerous for me. Baby would have been even bigger. She would have, and people deliver huge babies all the time naturally, but not everybody's body is made the same. So, you know, not everybody, even when their bones open, would be able to deliver, and that's what happened in my case. But again, with the whole poop thing, I'm really glad that it was induced when she was, because that would have been even more dangerous to hang out in there. So I'm happy that I ended up having a C-section. The recovery was very different than I expected. It was a little difficult, and I am going to get into all of that. With a C-section, you know, I did have a lot of people say, you know, I encourage you to find a C-section support group and all this, and a lot of people, even I know before I had the baby, when I mentioned, you know, if I have to have a C-section and that's what's best for the baby, I'm not going into it with my mindset on I'm having this baby vaginally and I don't want to have a C-section. I'm going to do everything to not have a C-section, you know, because you can't really do anything. In that moment when they say this is what we recommend to keep your baby healthy, then you have to make those decisions. But to me, C-sections in my mind I never thought that makes you less of a mother. I never thought that makes your birth experience less good or, you know, meaningful than someone that doesn't do that. Just because I guess in my whole life, that's how I was born. My mom had a C-section with me. And I guess it was just more of a natural thing that I had been used to hearing about. So in my mind, I never really thought a C-section was less than. You know what I mean? So emotionally, I can see where some people definitely, I'm saying that's totally normal, I know, for some women to go through those feelings. For me, I didn't have any littlest bit of that. I felt great about having her that way. I was scared, you know, going into it, because it's like, when they were wheeling me down there, my mind was just so, I was scared, you know, because it's like you're about to have major surgery that you did not plan for, and this is going to happen in 10 minutes, you know. It's just very scary. But coming out of it, I felt just as good about having the baby, just as much of a mother, just as much of having a good experience than if I would have had her vaginally. I was so alert during the whole thing, probably even more alert, because all those hours of pushing, I was so out of it. I probably was much more alert. You know, I heard her cry for the first time, I saw her for the first time, Brad held her, I held her. So it was a good experience. I loved my doctor. I think back on that time and it was scary, but it was such a beautiful moment, and I don't think I would have changed anything. I mean, that's how it happened, and I'm proud of that. The recovery. Right after it happened, you know, obviously your epidural is still there. That's sort of still happening. You don't really feel it until that starts to wear off, and then they had given me Motrin and Percocet, although I did not take the Percocet until the next day because I was just gonna see if I could take them. I'm not big on like taking a lot of stuff. I don't know, I just took the Motrin and ended up just taking the Motrin really because when I took the Percocet the next day, it just made me feel weird and kind of almost jittery, and like every time I would go to sleep I would kind of like jolt awake, so I stopped taking that. So I was essentially just taking the Motrin. It was painful. I think that, you know, any type of birth experience, I mean, you're gonna be in pain either way, and there's a lot that can go into a vaginal birth too that can make it even painful if they have to do certain things, and can make the recovery harder. But I just was not expecting how, not hard, but how hard, I guess, the recovery would be for a C-section. We weren't prepared for it. It's a major surgery. You know, I didn't have the house fixed. Like, you essentially don't need to be going up and down the stairs. So if you have a bedroom that's on the main floor, that would be ideal because you could be next to the kitchen. You can't walk around a lot. I did not realize how tough it would be to go up and down the stairs. It was really tough. But I decided I wanted to stay in our bedroom. That's where we'd be sleeping at night, where her bassinet is, where we would, you know, I would have my bathroom up there, and then the only thing I'd be missing is the kitchen, and then Brad brought me food and helped me out a lot in that way. So if you have a C-section, you really have to have someone to help you. I mean, unless if you were just camping out in the kitchen and you had a bathroom right there, everything was right there. I mean, even so, it's very hard just to be. You just need an extra set of hands. They say don't lift anything heavier than your baby, but then I'm like, when you have a 10-pound baby, you know, like her 9.5-pound baby, what do you, that's pretty heavy. So right when we got home that night, we did sort of scramble to get everything, you know, kind of in our bedroom. Brad moved the glider from Olivia's nursery into our bedroom, which was, we should have done that anyways. That just made things a lot easier. We had everything sort of just, you know, and everything just sort of fell into place after that. In the hospital, it was difficult because right away, even when the epidural wears off, your legs are very weak and it's very hard to move around. They did have me up that next morning, which I thought when they asked me to get out of bed, I thought I was going to absolutely die. It felt like my insides were going to fall out. Not to scare you or anything, but it is a major surgery and it was painful. And it sucked because right away, they have doctors and nurses that come in kind of often and they're feeling your stomach, I guess. I don't know if they're massaging to make sure everything goes back to normal, but it's almost like they're giving you a massage, like right where your incision is and right in your stomach where your uterus is. That was so uncomfortable and I would die every time they came in and I knew they were going to touch that. And they have to check to make sure that it's hardening up and that it's not too soft in there or something, they said. So that was the worst part. But in the hospital, it was difficult. Thankfully, you know, Brad was there. If you have a spouse, your significant other, a family member, if you know you're having a C-section, it's really important to have, I think, someone in the room with you, even though you have nurses and stuff. you know, I couldn't get up and out of the bed to get the baby and for him to hand her to me. And, you know, that was hard. And then the next couple days, we were there for 3 days, when I was getting up and down, it did make it easier because, like I said, I had been up and down a little bit. They wanted me to walk the halls. They wanted me just to walk around. I was up on my feet as much as I could, although it did hurt. And it you know, you'd think, oh, I'm good, I can walk around. But then there's a very fine line, like in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you start getting this horrible, like fiery pain. And it's like, okay, I gotta take it easy. I've done too much, you know. But I have found, and I've heard people say, and the doctor said, to do just a little and a little and a little more every day. Don't push yourself right away, but the more you walk and the more you walk to the point where you're hurting, you know, like, don't overdo it. If you start hurting, you definitely need to take it easy. But you do need to move around a lot. And so I did try to do that as much as I could. I went back to the doctor a week later and they checked my incision. They said everything was fine. They took off the steri strips. You gotta think, you know, they cut through your skin and then your muscle and then your uterus, and it's like they literally move around your insides. So you've got like a lot of different things healing, and it really does hurt. And you know, so it isn't gonna be comfortable. I felt a lot of air, a lot of weird feelings. That was really strange right away. But then once that kind of goes away, I did have some hard time sleeping when I got home because of the air. I was having like some weird pains and stuff. But that went away after about like a week and a half, I would say. That weird pain went away. It was very painful to move around a lot. You can't drive for a while. Certain clothes are hard. You have to really be careful with underwear and stuff because that's right where the incision is. I would highly suggest to swipe as many pairs of those ugly underpants from the hospital as you can. A lot of people said, you know, take the hospital underpants, and a lot of people were like, you know, you don't need those. And I think what it is if you have a natural birth, there's really no reason for you to wear those, you know, past a couple days. You know, you can start wearing your regular underwear, but when you have a C-section incision, that's right where your underwear comes up to. Even if you have high-waisted ones, like fairly high-waisted ones, it will creep down and get right there. And so you definitely have to be careful with that. And so even now, we're 4 weeks after. This is Olivia is exactly 1 month old. This is the 22nd of February. I'm a month out and I still cannot press on that. I still cannot have anything really rub against it. So I actually wore the hospital underwear. I had several pairs and would wash them in the sink because they're flimsy a little bit. They're made out of material, but they're not like you can put them in the washing machine a lot. So I would wash them in the sink and rewear them because you have to wear a pad anyways. Which is a whole other story, but I would highly suggest to take those if you have a C-section. And then I ended up buying some really high-waisted underpants just because I just did not want to wear hospital underwear anymore. But you definitely do need to keep in mind that you'll need to wear some leggings that maybe come up high, like your maternity leggings. I have found that all my maternity soft leggings have been just a lifesaver. That's all I've been wearing, because then you have that panel too that kind of goes up over your stomach, because for a while you're going to have that belly before your uterus goes back down. So I would highly recommend that to hang on to your maternity leggings, your pants and all that. Because even though I'm a lot smaller than I was before and I've already lost most of the weight, those leggings still fit me fine because they're stretchy. A big part of recovery and what people are usually curious about is weight gain and loss and all that. I have been really open during this whole process about how much weight I gained, and I really want to be honest about all that and everything. So during my pregnancy, I gained 50 pounds. Literally when I got home that day, I remember I didn't really care because I felt good. I mean, I felt like, I wasn't swollen. I felt good. You still have that belly, your belly it takes a while to go down. But I remember I weighed myself, and not that I cared, but I was just curious. Olivia was 9 pounds and 11 ounces when she was born, so obviously that goes, but I had already dropped 35 pounds. I was 15 pounds more than my starting weight when I got home, and now I'm 8 pounds more. I'm eating probably bad. I mean, I would say I'm eating worse. I feel like we're eating a lot of quick stuff at times, just whatever you can get your hands on. So I know if I was really trying, I could probably do a lot better. And like I said, I can't really work out right now. I can't really do any of that. taking care of the baby and just doing all that and just everything, I think is, and I have been not active, but you know, I'm up and downstairs now. I'm doing a lot more, but I just think that I was like, I just feel like I had so much water. I feel like I had just retained so much water in the fluids and all that. So I feel pretty good. Like I said, I think I'm 8 pounds out. Not that I'm trying to like get back down there. I feel great. I just feel great. I'm not trying to lose it or anything. I'll just see what happens because it's only been a month. I think in my case, I didn't really put on like fat or like excess weight from eating or anything like that. I think if that were the case, that takes a long time to come off. I think mine was a lot of like, just like I said, fluid and just pregnancy stuff. I don't know. But I think that the last 8 pounds are, I just feel like that's not gonna come off so fast. Not that I want it to, because I just don't care. I don't feel like I look any different really or anything like that. The only thing, I cannot wait for my stomach to be flat again, but I really don't even care because I don't think it's that bad. I will show you what it looks like. I think I showed it in the other video too when I did the birth story. I'm doing pretty good. And this is like a tight top, so, you know. I just don't think that's bad at all. So, and it's really hard. I feel like it'll go away eventually. It's just where your uterus is, whoa, I'm like, I can see my eyeballs. Hello, okay. I just feel like it's just, you know, your uterus and stuff takes a while to go back. So I haven't been wearing a belly band. I have one, although I've been finding that it's a little uncomfortable with my C-section scar, and I'll get into all that in a second. It's just weird. I don't know. I mean, the C-section was just a weird experience. Recovery-wise, it just felt so strange. But I think now, you know, I'm feeling really good. I can walk around just as much as I want. No heavy exercising or anything. I do have to be careful sometimes when I sit up or something. Sometimes it does pull and it feels a little weird. It's not 100% yet, but I'm at the point where I'm feeling good and I don't think about it all the time because it's not hurting. I didn't even take my pain medicine, the Motrin. I didn't take that very much after coming home. I took it for about a week, and even then I was not really like taking it on the dot. I would let it skip sometimes a lot, and you know, I wasn't taking it like back to back. There's so much to talk about though. Like I want to do some separate videos. I will do a separate diaper bag video because a lot of you guys have been asking about that, and a video on some of my things that I've really been enjoying, like some must-have things for this first time, and how I've been liking some of the items that we've gotten for her. Sort of things that we've been using the most. But I really just wanted to focus on the recovery in this video, how I've been feeling. I wanted to talk about her just a little bit. As far as, this is something too with like depression and anything like baby blues, I was honestly, I mean, you hear about that a lot. So many women go through that. It's a common thing. I mean, it has like to do with your hormones and things that you can't really control. Like I mentioned, even with the C-section and stuff, some women, that affects them very differently. Pretty much I would say nobody wants to feel like that. So it is beyond your control to feel that way. You know, that was something that was on my mind. You know, you do think like, I really hope this doesn't happen, but you don't want to dwell on it. You know, you don't. I really felt very strongly like bonded to her, and it's not bad if you don't right away, because I know sometimes it takes a while, you know. But I've really felt like I've got a good bond with her, and I really felt like as the month has gone on, I feel more confident in myself. Even from the very beginning, you know, once you just pass a few days and you've taken care of this little life, you feel like, okay, I can do this, you know. I never felt down or anything about the baby or about stuff like that. The only thing that I really had an issue with in the beginning was breastfeeding, and I don't feel like that anymore, but she was so hungry and she was so big, and she was like this like ravenous animal in the beginning, and the colostrum, which is just the first little milk that you produce, which isn't really even milk, you don't produce enough to even fill their stomachs. It's just high calorie, and it's not going to fill them up at all. It's not going to give them a full feeling. She hated that, and she would completely like, she latched good, everything was great with that, but she knew what she was doing, but it was like, she just wasn't getting enough milk, and then your milk doesn't come in for like 3 days, and it was like, you know, you feel kind of like you're doing something wrong, or that something, so that really messed with my mind. And then when my milk came in, it was like she wasn't getting enough of that, so that was really hard. But then, you know, you end up figuring out feeding and, you know, what you want to do, and everything's good, but that really messed with me. And people are so judgmental about breastfeeding and stuff, and like I said, you know, I'm pro breastfeeding. That's what I wanted to do. But I think so many people make you feel bad if you can't, and those are the people that are supposedly pro breastfeeding. But if you were really that pro breastfeeding, you wouldn't be making women feel bad that can't, because you should know how important it is and how, you know, it's just hard. But as far as like depression or anything like that, or baby blues, I haven't had any of that. I felt really good. I have, you know, luckily I feel very thankful that I have Brad here. You know, he's working from home, and it's just so nice that we're able to do this together and that he's involved. So I think that makes a huge difference. If you don't have a significant other, or you have a significant other that has to work a lot, if you have to work a lot, it's just good, or you know that you're going to be going back to work, it's just good to enlist help however you can. You will need it. So that's that. As far as her, and like I said, I'll do some more videos. This isn't it. So I'm not going to touch on everything, but I will say biggest advice I can give is to go with her flow, or his, whoever your baby is. Listen to your baby, feed them when they want to be fed. Don't get on some schedule in your mind of, oh, I can't do this right now. I can't, it's been this many hours, it's been that. You know, you just need to pay attention to your baby and learn what they need and give them what they need. If they want to be held, you need to hold them. Like, you can't, or, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm telling you what to do, but I just don't think you can spoil a newborn. I mean, I think you need to just comfort them and give them what they need right away. And, you know, in the beginning, those first days in the hospital, she was sleeping in her little bed in the room, and then she got home and had a couple good nights in her bassinet. But then once she got really attached, I think, to us and to me, and she was feeling, you know, more attached to me as I would hold her, as babies should, then it was like, she wasn't about the bassinet anymore, and she wanted to be, you know, feel me at night. So you just do what you gotta do. And, you know, we went through some really crazy, you know, some of those first few nights were great, and then we went through some bad nights really close to when we first got home in that first week, because she started realizing mom's not touching me, you know. So but we kept trying to put her back in the bassinet, and then we realized very quickly that's not working, and we need to give her what she needs. So since, like, you know, just letting her fall asleep with me, and, you know, doing things safely, there's way, you know, obviously you use your common sense. It's been like, our nights are just wonderful. She sleeps a long time. She naturally cluster feeds at night. That's what she naturally wants to do. So she sleeps longer stretches through the night. I think it's wrong to force that on your baby if they're not a natural cluster feeder at night. Like, if they don't want to feed right before bed a lot, I don't think it's good to force that on them. But for her, that's what she naturally wants to do. So if that's what she naturally does, and that's what works for us and for her, most importantly for her. So again, I just, you know, we listen to what she needs, and like I said, don't get too caught up on thinking, okay, I need to sleep train this baby, I need to do that. You don't need to be doing that right away, or at least I don't believe that that should be happening right away. I think that she's getting on her own schedule, and you just have to get to know the baby. I don't know. But as far as like advice or anything, that would be my biggest advice to make your life easier, is to listen to the baby and don't try to force anything that you see is making her upset. I will do a video soon on like little things that I found really helpful, from clothing to just anything baby items wise that we've used a lot so far, or things that I like. I'll do a diaper bag video because we have had some outings. And she's a good little car rider. She loves being in the car. To the point where, like, when the car stops, if we're in traffic or something, she gets upset. Like, she likes to be moving, and so I think that's cute. But let me think, anything else? We'll do some more updated videos, like I mentioned before. I'm not gonna show her right now because she's sleeping and I don't want to mess with her. Yeah, I'll show her in an upcoming video. I'm not gonna like show her on every video or anything like that, which I'm sure pretty much everyone will understand. I'm not gonna like show her in every video. But I do have some photos of her on Instagram if you want to check those out. It's just easier to do it that way, I think. But I will show her in videos here and there. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.